Hi everybody, welcome to Inkology. My name is Joshua Lamb and I'm an illustrator artist. Today we're going to have something kind of more of a tutorial on how to draw contour lines and cross-hatching around form. And I'm going to use my own eye as an example. We'll get in there. So if you have a pencil and pen, get that ready, get it out so we can kind of go over this together and you can learn this technique or all the different techniques I'll be showing within this one drawing today. If you're new to the channel, please like and subscribe. That definitely help out me as an artist. And click that notification button in case you want to be notified for our live streams, my live streams. But let's get into this and start learning how to contour. Okay, now let's begin drawing the eye. Now, if you have a reference you want to use it. I have one as well. I'm using my own eye, and it's kind of looking at an angle and up. I'm going to draw this. Usually people draw the straight forward because you see that most often. We're going to outline it just like this, the other angle. So this is what our first process is, the outline of the eye. So I'm going to draw it the best I can. And don't worry about being too off. You can fix that up later. But to help build the form of the eye, we're going to draw a sphere. I'm going to draw a circle, a perfect circle in the eye, and this is going to be the basis where we can see the wrinkles go around, where if it stretches too far out, we don't have to make our lines that far, and we can be reminded that this is a three-dimensional object. So I'm drawing the lines to create the 3D effect of the sphere, and this will help me create contour lines later. Now I'm going to draw the pupil, and I'm going to put that in here to the left of the eye and draw another sphere, kind of like the Death Star. You know, this is the area where the beam will launch out and destroy an entire planet, and that's what your pupil is going to be here. But we're going to cover up a little bit of it. This line I'm creating is the eyelid kind of folding underneath the eyelid of itself, and you'll see a little bit later what I mean. That's kind of hard to explain, but because I'm looking up, my eyelid's folding underneath, and it's coming around to the top of my eye, underneath my eyebrow. Right now I'm just going to draw in the inner parts of the eye on the right side and then start drawing the lines coming towards that point. And this will help you build contour lines. This is the most simple and basic contouring and cross-hatching technique. And all you need is to draw horizontal or vertical lines together to create enough to make cross-hatching up and down, left and right. And that's fine. You can do exactly what I'm doing right here, but you're still following form. I'm making sure that I'm putting and drawing in the other parts of the face that have the wrinkles and the lines that I need to draw in. This way, when I'm contouring with the cross-hatching technique, I am merging at those points and at those lines. And I've noticed that my pupil is too small. I'm going to fix that shortly, but let's put in the eyebrow. And putting in the eyebrow, I need to remember that this is coming closer than the eyelid. The great part of just sketching and drawing all this out is that the pencil is very forgiving, so never think that you gotta get it right the first try. It's very fun to just keep on refining and getting your piece to look right before we start inking, because if you really want a clean ink and to make the eye look the way you want it to look, a really good sketch is often required. What you might be wondering is, what pen am I going to actually use? And this is just actually up to your preference. Once you're done with the penciling process, as you can see we are done here, at least the basics. I'm just going to show you the process of inking this kind of eyeball or skin or the curvature of the human body. Anyways, let's get to it. Do I use my microns or my Molotow normal felt pens? Am I going to use a dip pen? They all have different structures to the line work that they build out. You're going to use a brush pen. This may be good, medium to practice. And then you have, of course, your brush and this brush pen. They're all fantastic. Now, once you get very familiar with them and you should try them all, but once you probably get more acquainted with this process, you may even just jump to the brush pen. Because the brush pen allows you to have thick and thin lines and strokes, that will actually just save you the time from going back over with another weighted pen like the Molotow or the microns would make you do. Since they're a specific number and tip, you have to draw it in and then go over with a thicker tip and thicken it out, which is fine. That's actually a fun process as well if you like to do that. The dip pen is also like the brush pen, but I find that the brush is much smoother. This one here catches up more and it's less consistent, but it's your choice. The dependent on the paper as well is dependent on the pen you would use. Like on more textured paper, I probably wouldn't use the dip pen. I would use my felt tips or the brush even. So it's your call. Right now, what we're gonna do is, since most people have these and are not acquainted and not everybody uses the brush pens, I will show you a few ways to use the brush pen into this. Which pen would we start off with? Now I'm going to start off with the 005. It is not the finest tip I have. I have the 003, but due to that being such a fine line, I don't think the camera is going to do it justice. I'm going to stick with the 5. It's fine. You'll see it. It'll be hard enough to see. But what we're going to do here is there's two ways of doing this kind of shading. You can do something by just keeping the outlines first, drawing the outlines first in the ink, or pencil then ink of course, and then making the contours around that to the points of the black lines, which if you see here, so I have an eye here, and this eye is actually just the outline. I did the outlines, and then I'm going to add the contours going from there, and they're all going to meet, and it's going to work out just fine. Now this is a style. Now once you feel comfortable with this, you can move on to actually taking away those lines and making the contours be the only line, and we're going to show you that here. I'm going to show you two versions within one drawing. I've already made the straight line across, so you're going to see what I mean from this, and compared to not using lines as the connecting points between contours. So let's begin. I have this one here, this top line of the eyebrow. Now the eyebrow is this 3D object of like this, I like to imagine as a gate coming down, right? But it's actually kind of thick, right? So it has an actual part here, but because this eye is squinting and it's being led by this eyebrow piece right here, and the eye is actually coming out a little bit over here. You'll see the left eye. You would see the left eye if I was drawing it. It'd be coming out over here. It wouldn't be hidden behind the nose. So we can draw a line here, right? And this is just following the pencil work. I like to erase a lot of this pencil beforehand, but because I'm recording, I want you to see the kind of the lines that we've created. We're just going to draw it in. And you're going to have fun just create little things in there to give character to your lines. But know that every divot of line that you create may have a ripple effect if you are building lines from that point. I think some of you guys might know what I'm talking about, but let's say I made a little divot here, right? And I'm contouring the lines around this eyeball as smoothly as possible. Once I hit this little divot, this little mark where there's a bend in this fabric or this eyelid, I would have to come and then divot, right? And that divot would be hard to control its width as I'm drawing, because it could also look like it's going inverted instead of extroverted, or extruding out. So you got to remember these kind of little things, but other than that, you don't have to be afraid. So I'm going to draw a few more lines. We got this one here, some of my amazing wrinkles in my eyes. People are afraid of wrinkles. I think wrinkles bring build character. I don't see anything wrong with wrinkles, really. But to each their own. To each their own. Man, I'm not glittered with it, but let's go from here. Okay, so I'm just drawing a few details of my face, like these lines here that are actually just my skin breaking up a little bit as I squint. You could do the eye. Now the eye is cool because you have wiggle room of making a perfect circle, so you don't have to worry about it, but don't make an oval. That's a lot harder to correct. But anyways, so let's start with this and let's start contouring from here. Okay, you're going to want to find the point of the ball. The ball is here, the eye is here, so the eyelid's going to follow a similar shape, right? It's just doing exactly the same thing. and that makes it easier for us to follow the eyeball and eyelids. In these areas, we can play with the shading style and the cross-hatching. We want it to lead into bigger, thicker lines, because if we have a light source, let's say the light source is right here shining downwards, right? This is going to be all bright and white. This will be bright and white. There'll be some shadow here. This just should be white here, and then come into shadow on this side, going further in a little bit here. For right now, we're just going to stick to this lighting, just to start building out lines. I'm just going to show you. So I have some spacing here between my lines where I can add dots and kind of come out, and I'll actually begin to make it disappear here as the light becomes more prominent. So one of the harder things about the contouring lines like this is following shapes with long lines and making them perfect and not wiggly, right? The steady hand is an art form, something that artists practice and practice and practice and practice. So don't feel bad. If your hand is not steady, it takes forever. That's really what the art is about. That's what you're learning, is how to keep a steady hand, right? As an artist, steady hand is key. But you don't always need it. Sometimes rough hands work. I enjoy that kind of a lot sloppier line work. Kind of builds a lot more character to me. Okay, so I started creating the lines and the contours towards where the shape is rounding out, right? That's where you want to go. For the eyes, you can go outwards like this. Start opening up. I'm just going to follow along the curvature of the ball, the sphere that we drew earlier in pencil, and that's where we're going to just continue to draw these lines. Now there are going to be more lines coming from the side, the right side of the eye where there's more shadow. Then on top, I'm going to just make more prominent lines near the bend where the eyebrow begins to turn over. And okay, now for the eyebrows and the eyelids you may want to draw in early. As you can see here, you can put them on afterwards and it won't affect anything, but if you do it early, you can actually space the lines a little bit away from them so they don't connect and doesn't look so messy. It cleans up the image. But that's your choice. In this process of contouring, you have a lot of decisions you can make, and you should feel free to practice and try. You're only going to learn this through practice and failing. These ideas of yours of how to contour differently, or the style of contour that you actually enjoy. It's really, really, really easy to learn someone's style. I think it's harder to apply it to the characters and the scenarios that you enjoy until you practice them all, because I think there's so many different scenarios you could use the contouring, and you have to learn. You don't have to learn, but you can learn, and which would really benefit your drawing and art. So definitely try different styles, try different cross-hatching and contouring. Don't be afraid. Practice drawing lines evenly, smoothly, perfectly spaced apart. These are the tricks of contouring that make it look like a printed piece of work. In this scenario here, where I have this line coming through to build out the eyebrows, which would be right about here, coming into this area, to do like something like the eyebrows and contouring the eyebrows, you could just start drawing lines that are differently spaced apart, and then have them kind of. This is one way. It's very. Not really thought out, but I like the way it looks. Yeah, you can do that all the way through, right? And then come through and shape it to where it's the front. And the reason why I think this style works is because when you're contouring and you're drawing all these lines that are both parallel and against these lines, I think it works a lot easier to see the difference between the eyebrows and the contouring. So like if I did contouring, right, I'd want to do contouring like this. I think this would work out just great to tell the difference, as these are all kind of, see, they kind of divide up and split it up, and I can just continue this design style. Right. And the more that you would actually move up to separate, let's say I wanted to go up to a 1, to fully separate this and build shadow, you're going to want that pointed, you know, tapered out kind of line. And this will help you build that illusion of something three-dimensional. Right. Oh, my pen's dying. And you know, like this contouring style, it's tedious work. You've got to love tedious work, right? And inking is sometimes, I mean, I think that's why a lot of inkers like it, because something about putting in bold lines over and over, or filling them up in this way that kind of brings the page to life. I think that's the addiction. And then when you're just doing patterns, it just feels super, I don't know, it feels good to do these kind of lines and just see it come together. There's also, you know, beauty and simplicity, no doubt. I just don't know it. I just don't do it very much. I don't do that simple stuff. Now for the eyeball itself, you can see that we did the cross-hatching this way. We also did it around in this way. When it comes to it's your choice. A lot of artists I've seen do these circles around the eyes and spread out, which is a cool design, cool technique. It definitely brings in, and I'm going to show you how to do that. It's just, you're going to follow around the eye, right? You're going to remember that there's a white spot right here. Usually the light hits the white eye, and there's this glossy light right around the opening of it, and it darkens around here. But I guess I could do this. Hold on. Start on the edge here. Start. This is a cool little technique too. It's just creating these lines for this reason. Help you map it out better. Let's do the glare here, and then we can just color this in. You always want to move from the center out. If you move from the edge out, usually you will get very awkward lines that are not from the center point. You need that illusion, right? So you want to make sure those lines are pretty straight, because everything else is going to be conforming to something. So you need to definitely do the same with the eyeball. Because inside the eye there's these, it's like mountains, right? With little valleys. Let's say actually black on this thing. So there's the eye. For the eyeball, you can still do the lines that we created earlier. It'll give you more value to your lines. So remember though, you don't want to always cross hatch 90 degrees. You want to do like a 45 to 90 degree angle. So let's say, for example, this eyelid right here. If I do perfectly across, it'll be definitely cross hatching. This is perfectly across, right? but we don't want all the patterns to be that way. And a lot of the time you would find that this is better to be drawn in a 45-degree angle, right? So like my cross hatching would go this way. And then you can also do one going this direction, right? To balance it out. But you can see how this builds more form. If you're going at a 45, then straight across like this feels so rugged, where this kind of brings the folds together. And that's gonna bring a better design. So here I could go straight up and do this, right? Or I can go at an angle. Just build a little bit of more dynamic separation. And that way, because what this allows here is to go this direction as well and build even deeper, darker lines. So I could just go this direction and then we have even darker, right? Now if you did like this and then I added this direction and then a 45 that way and a 45 this way, of course that would be like pretty much all angles being colored in for this style. But it's just probably easier to just do 3 instead of all 4, you know, up, down, left, right angles. Hope that makes sense. Your choice, of course, and how dark you want it. Okay, so let's continue with creating darker lines from here. Continuing with a 45-degree angle look. And I'm putting more pressure in the beginning of my stroke, then later on I'm just lifting up and slowly kind of getting away. And because this little tear duct right here has a lot of gloss to it, I'm just going to leave it like that. And we're going to do the bottom. So I'm going to show you 2 different styles. Okay, now they both work, and it's up to you to make the discernment of which one you would prefer. But when you're doing the eyelids, okay, you can do, you can draw in the eyelid, right? Okay. Okay, so this way here, you can draw in these lines and you can color them in. Just start. You can do the lines, but I would just color them in black, honestly, because then it's just gonna be so many lines here. I think having all black eyelashes is probably a better look for the piece. It pulls the piece probably together a little bit better. And you can even do white lines in this, in the eyelashes to give more depth, like a reverse of what we're doing, but white on black. If you have a white pen, maybe doing the contours of each eyelashes would be a cool design like I show you here. Which I like, it's kind of cool. All right, now we have these eyelashes. What do I do with these lines? Now you can see some lines touching, but what you could do, which is kind of cool, is let's say you want to create more lines, you could kind of step away from touching it and putting them in between to make it feel like these eyelashes are a little bit more kind of interfering with the line work behind it, which is cool. And the second way is, of course, once you're done putting in these things, just draw them in. Since the bottom eyelid doesn't have many eyelashes on it, we're just going to draw a few, call it, and then move to the eyebrow. Now the eyebrow hairs are kind of fun because you want to do like different kind of wavy hairs to separate the line work that's coming from contouring the skin. So that's what I did here, and I just kind of fill in blacks in certain areas where they kind of meet to give a little bit more bold line work as well as some depth to it. But it worked out well because all the contour lines were separated by it, and I think it kind of pulls away from the image being so focused on the contouring. Learning this process of cross-hatching along the shape of what you're drawing and building form through this will help your forms and other drawings as well. You'll automatically know more about how to start working with it and how to plan for the cross-hatching technique to come along. The more that you practice this on different references and creative things, this style, and progress with this, you'll learn where to use it and how to actually refine it to work for you. Remember, practice doesn't make perfect, but it makes you a lot better. So go out there and try different techniques and styles on this. Okay, here I'm just getting really kind of into the darks of this contouring here. Trying to get a lot of detail in there. Part of the trick of cross-hatching like this is to make sure you don't overdo it. And sometimes you will overdo it. I overdo it. This could be considered overdoing it right here. But in the sense that I actually need all this to be darker anyways, it works out. I got kind of came fortunate. But there is times whenever I do color things in too dark and I'm like, man, that just does not work. And yeah, it happens. But you learn to perfect it. You learn to master this little technique of going, okay, how much do I need to do? How far away do I need to be? You know, like how dark does this image need to be? I am going to be making this one very crosshatch heavy. Three of these lines diagonal of each other. And there you go. You can just do that. Crosshatch that diagonal line. Still while leaving space between the eyelashes and the cross-hatching lines. If you were able to complete an entire image like this with this technique, you would have one really detailed face and character, and if you were able to even condense that smaller, make an entire scene like this, it'd be a lot of information and a lot of line work, which would be very beautiful. You just have to have a pretty good sized canvas to make it visible enough. But this is the kind of ink work that I enjoy, and I'm just kind of promoting because I like it. It's meditative, but it's also fun, and you can do a lot with it and change it up in many different ways. So part of the illusion of contouring and cross-hatching in this way is having the lines continue, you know, not coming down and then moving over a centimeter or millimeter or whatever and then continuing the same line. Having it look like it's all flowing everywhere is going to build a more deeper image and consistent. You know, the consistency is going to build that illusion that you're kind of fighting for with this contouring design style. It's not easy. Definitely not the easiest thing to keep your eyes out on all this stuff. With all these different cross-hatching angles and forms you have to keep an eye on and follow along. It can get a little intense, but once you're all done, it's very rewarding, and you can see all that hard work goes to producing something beautifully detailed and just has so much going on that you can just look at it for hours, I feel like, and discover something new each time you look at it. This is a questionable line right here. It should have went down a little bit further, right about here, and then come up. That's my poor planning right there. And with this cross-hatching technique, you can also add a thinner line or darker lines, thicker lines technique to it to deepen the values. I like to add a lot thinner of a line after this one, and it kind of just gives a little bit more of a gray tone to the shading to build more values. So this would be the basic structure for the eye as cross-hatched amongst the contours, right? To make it better, you're going to want to continue on this same theme of thickening in the lines where they should be darker, right? Like this one should be darker here. I'm going to do that and continue making thicker areas, thicker lines, making thicker lines in areas where they're needed, right? Making it very evident that this is the dark area. And the lines are weighted. Weighted lines feel better. They feel they're smooth. And this is where using a brush pen would save you a lot of time instead of having to go over it. You could just, in one stroke, just create the weighted line to go from thin to thick to thin again. Okay. And where the light usually hits before the thick and thin lines happens is usually the darkest, so you usually want to build out a darker, a hard shadow right here before it gets lighter. That way it shows the bend and the highlight. It promotes the highlight of the skin better. Now I'm using a 1 right now. I could move to the 5 or a different thickness of pen, but the 1 I'm just comfortable using, so that's what I'm using. Use whatever you want to do with the shading. The brush pens will be fine. In fact, the brush pen will be a good way to show you what it's like. Oh, I left this pen open. So with this, you can actually start thick and then go thin, right? It's hard to match. Ooh. So this is where the brush pen is amazing. It really just saves you a whole bunch of time, and if you can master this little guy. Okay, so that's it. This is the eye and my style of cross-hatching. I use a couple different techniques, a couple pens, and you can kind of see how to do it and what the idea of contouring and cross-hatching is for an object. I'm staying within the shapes, I'm drawing my lines around them. They're not merging perfectly to make a perfect square, but more of like an angled, like this, instead of a square or a rectangle. This gives more shape to it and allows you to do, 3 different forms of cross-hatching. Okay. Looks good. I hope this was helpful for you guys, that this showed you all the different techniques that you needed to kind of know to practice the techniques that you wanted to learn for your own art. And if you're able to learn different techniques, practice those as well. The more information and styles you can understand and learn will help your drawing and your pictures grow in depth. Thank you for watching. If you're new to the channel, please like and subscribe. And if you like this, please do. Hit that notification button, because every Tuesday and Thursday, I also do live streams where you can ask me questions. You can see me work through art pieces, commissions and everything. And that's very fun. But also I have a Discord you can join if you want to be more communal with other artists as well as myself and share art. join that link down below, as well as the Patreon, Instagram, and all the other social that you might need. But that's it for today. Stay tuned for my next video. I really appreciate all of you, and definitely leave a comment down below what you think. If you have any techniques that would improve or you may suggest, hey, leave it down there. Thank you for watching again, and remember, if you're creative, go create.